Hey, Tim. This is Danny Smith. Just calling to tell you how much I appreciate listening to your shows, Truckers' Voices. It's very informative. I really like hearing the drivers' stories, how they got into the trucking industry and maybe what kind of trucks they started out with. And it's just been a lot of fun, and I would encourage any drivers out there to tune in and listen, call in, be a part of it. It's a great show.
Hey, this is Chuck Lopesiger, and I listen to Truckers' Voices every Thursday evening from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern on Facebook or YouTube with host Tim Taylor and co-host Steve Brand because it keeps me informed about the industry and the drivers that keep our country moving forward. Don't forget, Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Be there.
Hi, this is Scott Post, and I love Truckers' Voices because there's always something entertaining and educational for our industry. And it's also hosted by two of my good friends, Tim Taylor and Steve Brad. Tune in tonight. And in the meantime, be safe out there.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? My name's Charlie Demchuk, and I'm here to welcome you to tonight's big show. Y'all sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Tim and Steve got a good one in store for you. So have a good night. We'll see you.
Hi, this is Tony Wainwright. I hope you enjoy listening to Truckers' Voices as much as I do. Now, without any further ado, kick back, kick your shoes off, air your corns out, and get ready to listen to another fine show.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. I hope that you had a good day of trucking out there. Whatever highway that you was trucking on, I hope it was a good one. Hey, what you do out there matters because we know that 99% of everything that everybody has comes on a truck. So, hey, look at there. You making a difference in the economy. You're making a difference in everybody else's life. You are a difference maker, and don't forget that. And you know what? Sometimes we're going to have those good days. We're going to have those bad days. But I hope you have more good days than you have bad days. But just remember, you are important to this trucking industry there. We got a good show lined up for you tonight. We got the Florida Grand Champion on here with us tonight, Mr. Eddie Penington, going to come on here. And he's actually going to tell us his story about how he got into trucking. And then also he's going to tell us a little bit about his experiences with the TDC, everything through the years that he's done, and his experience this year. Now, let me make a note here. I ain't going to get too much into his glory here, but this is going to be his last year competing there. He's fixing to go out on the retirement road, and so we're going to wish him well at Nationals this year, and I'm sure Eddie's going to make us all proud there. But I got that other old fella, Mr. Steve Brand, waiting in the wings out there. And I'm going to give him a proper introduction here in just a minute. So before we bring him in, let me go and get my introduction started for Mr. Steve Brand. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good. I didn't hear nothing.
You didn't hear nothing? Man, it might be this old telephone thing here. Let's try it again.
Nope, didn't hear nothing.
Man, I tell you what, you never know with technology how it's gonna work. There, 1 week it'll work, 1 week it won't.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So tell me about your day, man.
Man, it wasn't a bad day till got about halfway home and then had a little issue. And good safety thing for everybody. It is summertime. It's hot. It's especially down in the southwest. These truck tires are going to blow. Do not ride beside these trucks when the tires blow. Just ease on past them trucks. And, it's no fault of the driver. It's just tire lets go. And I was coming down the hill, and apparently a big truck before me lost the tire, and there's a gator all over the road. And I tried to straddle everything the best I could and get away from it. Well, apparently a piece of it picked up my airline on my rear trailer, and sheared my airline off. And I didn't know it. And I went down the road a couple miles. And I started pulling the next hill, and I started losing power. And man, this thing was a tugging. And well, some good gentlemen in the pickup truck. I was trying to get top of the hill so I get in a safe spot and pull over to the shoulder. I had guardrails beside me and everything, And he said, "Hey, FedEx," I rolled down my window. He says, "Your trailer tire's on fire." And I'm like, "Uh-oh." And I hit the shoulder, and I jumped down on the ground, and I looked. I seen the flames, grabbed that fire extinguisher. Since we're talking about TDCs, what does PASS stand for? Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep.
Yep.
And we got her all put out. Everything's good. Didn't lose no freight. Didn't lose no trailer. No law enforcement had to show up. No fire department had to show up. But record company had to come and get my trailer. So we got it all taken care of. Everybody's safe and sound. But the rule of that is it's hot. Do not ride beside these trucks. You
That's
don't
right.
want any incidents. And if you see gator all over the road, just kind of move left or move right. Try to avoid it. You don't want to damage your car. Man, don't slam on the brakes. Don't slam on the brakes. You don't want somebody to tag you in the back and don't run off the road. Don't run off the road. If you can't avoid it, you got to run over it. It's not that big a deal, but want everybody to be safe out there. So
That's right.
Hey, everybody's safe. Everybody's sound. The equipment's where it needs to be. We're in good shape, baby.
You are right here. That's where I needed you to be tonight, right here.
That's right. We're right here. Hey, we're right here with the best people in the world.
I tell you what, I did not think that we could top last week's show, right?
Right.
Hey, we're topping it, man. We have got this guest in the wings here, and we got a world and a wealth of knowledge that's going to come on here. And I do have to say, Eddie is my friend, and I look up to Eddie. He's been a mentor to me. He's helped me out a lot through TDC years, and he's helped bring me a long way. So, and you guys out there going to TDC, I see a lot of you logged on here now. You guys can learn a lot from Eddie. So y'all listen in. He may give you a few nuggets, but he's not going to give you all the nuggets there, I guarantee you.
Exactly. So let's get down to business, man. Let's bring Eddie on in here. I'm interested to hear his story.
All right. Well, let me do this first.
Exactly.
Oh, not that one. Let me give you the right one here. The views expressed on this show are those of the host and the guest only and do not reflect those of others, and I'm going to add this, and other entities there. So, hey, we got the legal jargon out of the way, so we can jump into it. I will say that let's go ahead and give some shout outs to people that's watching right now. Steve, I'm going to tell you who all's looking on my page. I want to shout out to Chuck Jernigan, Ben Atkinson, Tony Wainwright, Bob Hare, Chris Perna's watching tonight, Jim Fisher's watching tonight, Kevin Dean, Scott Post, Bill McNamee, Randy Broderick, and that's what I got on my page right now on this one. And then, of course, we got people watching over on YouTube, too. Who you got watching on the Safety Drive page?
I got Miss Nancy Post on there. Hi, Miss Nancy. How are you, ma'am? Hope everybody's doing good up there Minnesota way.
That's good.
Scott's probably out making that good hard-earned money, so,
Yep. All right. Well, hey, we're just gonna have to give Eddie a hand clap of our own, and we're bringing on here. So let's bring Eddie on in here, okay?
Sounds good.
Mr. Eddie Penington, it's good to have you tonight on Truckers Voices.
It's good to be here, too, man.
Yes, sir. Hey, don't tell everybody my secret. You just told them my handle.
I'm sorry. I was gonna wear a flannel shirt to be on this tonight. Being your tool man.
Hey, what are you talking about there, Al? Oh, Eddie, it's good to see you on here, man. We are excited to have you on here. Welcome to Truckers Voices. Let me tell the listening audience that it's not easy to get Eddie on the show because he runs such a early morning schedule that he goes to bed pretty early. I always kid him. He goes to bed before the chickens does. But it's actually a pleasure to have him on here. I snagged him because I know he's flying out to Indy tomorrow, and so I knew that we might get him on here. And I've been wanting to do this for a while. So, Eddie, thank you very much for coming on Truckers Voices.
Don't mind, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Well, Eddie, let's get started with this show here. We want to hear your story. First of all, we want to hear your story about how you got into trucking. So we're going to give you the liberty to speak to the listening audience, and you just start from the beginning with how you got into trucking. Just kind of give us a rundown of that, and we're going to just sit back and listen, okay?
All right. I've been in the freight business, transportation, for 50 something years now. Started out on horse and buggy. My first trip was on a slate tablet. Yeah, the old cobblestone road was a little rough, but that pneumatic tire in 1919 made it a little better. But now I started back in probably 73, I think it was, when I ended up going to work for Florida Freight. When I was young, my dad was a fireman, and everybody wants to follow the footsteps of their father. And that's what I wanted to be when I was in school in elementary and all. And later on, he ended up driving some with a trucking company and also in the fire department. Then when he retired from that, he pretty well went into the freight business. And we was young. We lived around the corner from the bowling alley, and all of us ended up over there bowling and helping out there a little bit. As a I guess you call it part-time job. They just paid us. We was, just young kids. And next door was a gas station. The guy had a wrecker, and they had pinball machine pool table. We was in there shooting pool and playing pinball. When cars come up, and Jackie would ask us to go pump the gas for him or his wife, because she ran when she wasn't there if he was out on the wrecker call. First time I learned right, he was sitting there and he told me to go move that wrecker. I said, I can't drive. He said, well, you got to learn sometime. So when I tried to move the wrecker, and I clunk, 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 kept stalling it out. And so then he told me to get in his wife's Volkswagen Beetle. She said, you can't stall out a Beetle.
Yeah.
You just dump the clutch, it just goes. So that was, early life. And then I guess, when we were young, Dad, when he had dropped me and my other brother off at a warehouse, and we'd unload trailers in the summer for him. He'd bring his lunch and drop another trailer. So, we didn't get a salary. We just got a better allowance than what we used to get, just being at home, mowing the grass, but we still had to mow the grass. But it was one day, I guess it was while I was out of school, and I was like 15 because I had a motorcycle. My brother it was his, and he bought a car, so I just took over the payment on his motorcycle. I bought it from him. And Dad called one day and said something about, did I want a job? That it was at Florida Freight. And I started him hunting. He said, do you want a job or not? If you want a job, get on that motorcycle and get your butt down here now and fill out the paperwork if you want a job. So I jumped on the motorcycle and went downtown to Florida Freight and filled out the paperwork and all that. And from that point, they took me out on the dock and I went to work. And they only had one tow. They had one tow motor. It was a little small one, but they had like 200 floats, short and long floats, because we fingerprinted everything back then, wasn't all this pallet freight. But I ended up working there then through the summers and all that. And then, I learned how to hustle and all that. And then, they would drop us in the summer to load trailers, and the drivers would pick us up. And, they let us back it in when we got these warehouses. A couple of them would. They was helping us. So when I got 18, I was always out there helping the mechanic too. He would always come get me to help him work on trucks. I was either on the dock or out there working with him. And we was out there finishing up. We painted a truck, and I was working on it. And he asked me, he said something about they were looking for another driver. He said, they're going to give you a chance to drive. And I said, probably not. They said something about they're going to hire another driver. So we was working on the truck, and he asked me if I wanted anything from the breaker, because he's going to go inside and get something, use the restroom, come back. So he come back out, and I was working on the truck. About 20 minutes later, dispatcher come out. Paper, he says, when you get done with the truck, y'all get done, I want you to go down to Southern Pack and pick this trailer up. He said, do you want to drive? I said, yeah. But on my 18th birthday, I went down and got my chauffeur's license. That's all we had to have back then. And that was on a Friday. And this was on the Tuesday of the next week that I was driving. But, I knew how to drive at 16. My dad had a truck driving, and he taught us. I remember one time he let me drive around the neighborhood. I was looking at the shifter shifting and, getting closer to trees, and he told me to quit looking at the shifter in certain words, and if I can't do it without looking at the shifter, I need to park the truck.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
And look at you now. Look at you now without a shifter.
yeah. I don't know how to drive a shifter now. I drive a shifter now, so when you come to a stop, it's kind of like that old record goes clunk clunk clunk.
Exactly.
I just forget to push the clutch in.
Yeah, go ahead. I messed you up.
Then I guess as I was 19, they was going to put a contractor on, so they asked me if I wanted to buy a truck. So I ended up buying my own truck. Just running local. The company we work for, the Florida Freight, they put everything on the rail because back then everything was regulated, and that's the only way they could move it for the state of Florida. And so we just, I'd pick up the customer freight and bring it back, and and I'd haul them to the rail yard at night, whatever I needed to do. We lived down the road from one rail yard, so I'd take a trailer home with me and drop it at the yard, come back and go home. Then I'd get up in the morning, go get another trailer and pick it up, because it paid $25 a round trip back then. And I figured that paid my, $125 a week. Either paid for my fuel or paid my truck payment for the month. And my dad always told me in this freight business, it's feast or famine, that when the feast is there, you work. You make all you can, because when it's not there, because, there's a lot of times we'd sit around to after lunch before we did anything. So, I worked long days. And so I got married in 78. And then in 79, I turned 21, which I had my truck. I had to hit that road. I wanted to be that road driver. I had to go drive that truck. So I did that for a little bit. And, I tell people, I was only making 55 cents a mile. I had to buy my own fuel, pay for my own truck. And, we think about, hey, we make more than that now driving that company truck.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
People think it's bad, but it was different back then. At that age of 21, you didn't get the better contracts or whatever you want to call it. And then, I had it, and then later on I sold it, got out of it, and then ended up working for a couple different companies. And so I ended up bought another truck and was hauling containers, stuff like that, for a transportation company here in town. And then guy wanted to buy my truck, so I sold it. And there was a boy at Florida Freight had a truck that was leased on. He asked me if I'd drive his truck for a couple, until he found a driver, because he was looking for a driver. And my brother-in-law was at Winn-Dixie, and my brother, they kept trying to talk me to come out to Winn-Dixie. And I said, no, I don't want to be calling in every night at 6 o'clock to find out where I'm going.
Yeah.
So I just held off, and then one day I was dropping trailer and ran into a boy that used to be leased to Florida Freight. He was leased with Watkins Motor Lines then. And so we talked for a little bit, and then I went on, and when I called back later on to find out what they wanted me to do with a trailer, and dispatch said, James wants you to get a hold of him. I said, for what? He said something about Watkins is looking for some city drivers for local, to hire on. So later that day, when I was on the way back to the yard, we ended up beside each other at a red light. So I told him, he said, you come? I said, yeah. So I'll go park the truck. He said, come on, there's plenty of room outside the gate and all in the yard. You can park there, and I'll take you in to meet the terminal manager. So I went on over there, put all the paperwork in, and 2 weeks later, I went to work for Watkins in 81. And was there until 2006 when FedEx bought us. And it was right. FedEx National. I had a good old time. And boy, when I started the TDC was back in 98 with Watkins. There's a safety man named Tommy Thomas. A lot of people, y'all probably know him. He kept bugging me every time he come to Jacksonville about doing this thing called a TDC. I ain't gonna make a fool of myself. I've been driving 20-something years. So one day I was out the fuel, and he was pulling out the gate. Look, he come flying back there. Then the next day I got a phone call from the manager about Tommy wants to know if you're going to do this thing. And I said, tell him I'll do it. Just leave me alone. I got to sleep. And that night I thought, what did I just get myself into? So they had, he held the practice and stuff like that. And, that the shop had a pre-trip and all, so we went down and all that, and I learned some stuff. And old Red McKee, he was a big help, and he'd been doing TDC for everybody in Florida knows Red McKee. He was a good helper. He was my mentor. So Tommy had this thing going between me and him, and we didn't know it. Red was in Lakeland, I was in Jacksonville. So Tommy runs down there and tells Red that he's got a guy that's been with the company 20-something years going to come down here and kick his can in the driving championships. So Red's thinking this old man's going to come down there and, to the thing, and I get there, I'm just a young person, which I was 40, I think. And he was kind of shocked that it wasn't an old guy. So we had fun with the touring around like that. And first year I competed was in '98 in the twins class. Come in second place, rookie of the year. There's 135, I think, drivers in the whole competition then. And each year it grew. And I got hooked on it. Then I was back every year, been back every year ever since. And then they did it indoors one time at Tampa. It was at the fairgrounds, but we did it outside all the time. I made a lot of good friends through this TDC. I call them just family. It's, that's what I love. That's the camaraderie of all the drivers at the TDC. You go, and then you love the competition, but it's helping other people,
Right.
Also. And I've helped drivers from other companies and all practice with me and all that. We all got together, studying. Well, you know how we study tool, man. There's hours and hours on the phone of my wife questioning us. And back early years when we were going to Tampa and all, I was driving, and my son helped me a whole lot too back then. He was young, and they would just, she just kept giving me test, just always, But my son, when he ended up working on our dock over there at National, and it was in 2007. Well, he used to help me, and he got where he'd set up pre-trips too, because I showed him what to do, and we had another driver that was competing, and I told him to go do the pre-trip. My son set it up. Now he come back, the driver had his head hanging down, and like I looked at him, I said, "Don't tell me that kid just stumped you on a pre-trip." And he went, that kid knows more about these trucks than any one of these drivers around here. You taught him well. And, but it was fun through them years. And that boy won state that year and went to nationals. I come in, I think, second or third, in the twins class. But I've had some pretty good luck at it, or I guess say success.
Yeah.
And, I think it's the second year I competed. I ended up with the written exam test, won it. That was my goal, is to take something home. I'm a competitor.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I've won the written exam, I think, 12 times through the years. They call it the Randy Beasley Award. I've had 4 of the state pre-trip awards. But in 2003, nationals used to be where you drove one day and pre-trip the next at that one time. And I didn't do too good driving. It was in Columbus. I hope I don't do that this year.
You ain't going to, brother. I got faith in you.
And, it was like, I told my wife that night, I know I didn't do nothing. I ain't going to do, I said, I just go home or what? But I looked at her, told her, I said, you know what? I said, there's something you can take home from here. I said, I'm going after that pre-trip award. I buckled and I said, I'm going to get it. And I ended up winning it. But I didn't give up. And that's the thing. Anybody, don't give up.
Right.
Don't give up. Even if you didn't do good, go back and try to get that pre-trip award. There's always an award. Even, and you learn from it. I learned a lot. Tommy the best information Tommy ever gave us, all of us, was practice and study. He said, yeah, practice and study. He says, because number one, he says, you need to know the rules and regulations because that's your job that depends on it. He said, well, when you're out there on that road, he says, it's you and the officers. You need to know them rules. And I got stopped a couple years ago in South Carolina for a hazmat inspection because the boy pulled me over and he walks up to the door and opens the passenger door and he looks and he says, driver, he said, let me ask you something. He says, do you have to stop at every railroad track with these placards on? I looked at him, I said, no, I don't have to. I said, there's certain one. He said, well, what? So I told him, I said, well, if there's officers, it's at the track. I said, if it's offered by a light. I gave him 4 to 5. He said, there's one more. I couldn't think of the business district. And that's about the exempt railroad track and all. So then he said, how do you know these things? He said, most drivers don't know that. He asked, well, I said, I compete in the driving championships and I've learned a lot. I said, I've gone on the FMCSA page and studied stuff for myself. Someone asked a question or for something I was wondering about, I'd go look at it. So I asked the guy, I said, do you know your post-trip in your book comes before your pre-trip, 396.11 and 396.13? He said, no. So while we get done, he gets his book, shows me about the railroad track. So he flips over to the other one. He says, well, you're right. He says, post-trip's before the pre-trip. So he says, let me give you my phone number. He said, I'm going to give you my personal phone and the company, the state phone. He says, if you ever need anything or if you find anything else we got backwards, let me know. So, I mean, and getting to know these guys.
Right.
For years at Florida, I helped with the Inspector's Challenge. I was the driver that, sitting in the truck. I watch them guys. And you watch them guys do their job and you can learn. And that's how I learned a lot. But that whole day I did it. I was studying because that was the night we're going to do our test. But first time I was volunteered to do it. We were down there in Tampa. And Troy, the captain of the motor carrier compliance, was talking to Tommy and all that. So then Tommy called me over and I said, what? He says, you're working with Troy tomorrow. You're going to help him. So it was that I guess I was delegated to do it, but I learned a lot. Had fun doing it for years because they had scenarios that we had to do.
Yeah.
They gave me a sample driver license and stuff like that, and they had like if I needed sunglasses or prescription glasses or hearing aids or something like that, but I don't have them. That would be the thing. And one guy come up to the truck and asked me. He started talking. I just ignored him. Then he said something in Spanish. I said, I don't understand that either. but when we got done with the thing and all that, he's filling out the paper and then he looks and he goes, where's your hearing aid? And then my phone rang and I grabbed my phone real fast to shut it off. He said, oh, you can't hear me, but you can hear that phone, can't you? I don't have something. He almost missed that. If I guess hadn't been for that phone, he probably would have missed it on the paper. I don't know, but I've had fun, and I made some pretty good friends from the DOT side.
Right.
And, they can help you out there when if something you need questions or anything, they're willing to help you.
Yeah.
Right.
But, go ahead.
I'm going to jump in here, Eddie. So, going back early on in your story about you and your dad and your brother in the trucking industry, you've told me this story before, but tell the listening audience about. I hate to say it this way. It's the only way I can say it is running illegal.
That wasn't illegal.
Come on now.
Well, I knew how to drive when I was 16.
Okay.
And, like I said, the guys at Florida Freight back then, we was drop guys. So one day we was stopped at the burger chef, got us something to eat, and so we'd come outside and get in the truck to go to General Foods just right up the street. So he told me, you drive. So I got in the truck and drove down the street, and I didn't know my cousin was in there at the time. And then he was at the house, and he asked me when did I start driving. I said, Dad don't know. But then later on, me and my brother, we both ended up driving a Florida Freight. And then Terry ended up working for a company called Dixie Egg. and he ran to the farms picking up the eggs. But then they had him running the road, so he was going to Virginia one time. So he called and asked me, "I want to go." He was 20, I was 19. I said, "Yeah, I'll go to Virginia with you." So we drove up to Virginia, delivered the eggs, and come back. But it was like a few weeks later, he was, I think it was Georgia, Alabama, somewhere out there near the state line, and he got stopped for a DOT, and he was only 20 years old.
Oops.
So, the company, so after that, they just had him stay in Florida until he turned 21. But then things was a lot different back in those days. I mean, the traffic wasn't bad, which we didn't know a lot. Like I said, when it comes to rules and regulations, I guess you can say I didn't learn a lot till I went to work for Watkins.
Yeah.
And really, it come down to TDC. Until then, that's when I really started learning rules and regulations.
Yeah.
I mean, because we used to work all kind of hours at Florida Freight back then, which, nowadays you ain't going to find a 15, 16-year-old kid working on a freight dock. Labor law don't allow it, but back then it did.
Tell us a little bit about Watkins and your experience there at Watkins.
It was a good company. It was a good family-oriented family company. They were really, I said, when you saw John Watkins, you didn't call him Mr. Watkins, you called him John.
Right.
And when I worked for them, it was, started on June 15, 1981. And then I went on the road in 89 with them.
Did you ever run the city with them, Eddie, or was you just always a road driver?
Yeah, I run from 81 to 89. But I'd fill in for the road drivers when they was off. We had 2 road drivers at the time. One running a Atlanta relay, one Charlotte relay. And then when one opened up, I decided I'd go and do it. And I probably thought about going sooner, but I didn't. But, in the end, I've got 2 great kids because I probably wouldn't have had them if I had went on the road back in 81 when it was offered to me one time. But, I had run the road prior to that with Florida Freight, and then with my own truck back then. And tell you a little thing about, a couple of us went down to Orlando one year. We went to a Fleetwood Mac concert, and we were staying at a hotel right there on I-4. And that night, just watching the trucks run up and down the I-4, all the chicken lights and all that. I said, I'm gonna do that one. I'm gonna drive. I'm gonna be on the road one day. And then I remember the first time I went by that hotel, going, down the I-4. It was like it was yesterday,
Right.
And back when I first started driving, I was joking around about. So I'm on my own truck. My sister laughed at me. But when I bought my own truck, she said, "I guess you can do what you want to do." But, she said, "If you put your mind to it, but like I tell anybody, if you're going to buy a truck, you better know how to work on one." And I learned a lot. I learned a lot by working with that mechanic out there. He was retired from the city of Jacksonville, and then he ended up working for Florida Freight.
Yeah.
Frank was a good old guy, but he can get mean sometimes. But no, Watkins was a good company, and I had fun. I did city for years and worked the dock, city, all of it. It's part of the job. And we had a new truck come in one time, and not new Nuck, it was a flatback Mac. And some of the guys says, I can't drive that thing. And one of them says, "Well, you drove one of them at overnight." I said, "It's a truck." So I said, "Give me the truck. Give me the truck. I'll take it." But then come to find out, it was one of the fastest trucks we had. And they all wanted it. You know how that goes.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
And when it comes to TDC, I did twins for years. Then I started going into the different classes. Tank class, flatbed, 3-axle, 4 and 5. I did everything but straight truck.
So,
and go ahead.
So I don't think you'll mind me telling this. You started your career in the twins, and this is where you wanted to end your career, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, in the last year I do the TDC, I'm gonna do twins, and when I did the twins, some of them said, "Are you retiring? You this is it, ain't it?" I said, "This is it." So I said I was gonna finish out in the twins.
Yeah. I'm gonna let Steve jump in here if he's got some questions.
What was your first truck? What was the first truck you bought?
White Japanese Freightliner. I don't
Copy
know if you know
that.
what that. You don't know what that was, do you? A white 7400 cab over.
Right.
That
Right.
was what it was. Then the
Yeah.
second one I bought was a Road Commode 2.
Good old road commode. I
Road
drove
Commander.
a I drove a road commode
Uh,
at truck driving school. That's what they had on the shift course, was old road commode.
and these are two. They were cab overs. First truck I drove was a Florida Freight was a white 4000.
Right.
250 with a solid seat,
So
no
yeah.
no air
Yeah.
conditioning, metal
Eddie,
cab. You
Eddie, let's move into present time here now because we've been talking a lot about the past and all.
know.
And
All right.
I was actually, I was actually scrolling and looking at some of the comments there, and somebody was talking about you and the cobblestone road and riding your horse, and somebody asked what the was your first truck, gasoline or diesel, and then somebody come back and said it was on a horse. I'll tell you off the air. I'll tell you off the air who it was, but anyway, let's come back up. And you're going to Four Cs tomorrow. For the listeners that doesn't know what Four Cs is, that is FedEx's boot camp, basically for the training for the truck driving championships. But Eddie, tell us a little bit about how you prepare, not just for the nationals, but tell us how you prepare for state competitions.
Well, someone asked me one time. I said, "When do you practice?" I said, "I practice year round." And he said, "Bull, you drive every day. I mean, every time you go somewhere, every time you make a left turn, right turn, riding down the road, left side, right side. Every time you stop somewhere, do a front stop, back stop. I've got stuff painted all over the yard and the fuel bay. I got a railroad stop and a front line stop in the fuel bay. So you can do every other day. You can do one.
Right.
It's just playing around. You just I call it practice, but it's something we do every day. And just then it comes time for TDC, I'm over there on the weekends on Saturday or Sunday, and we're out there for pretty long days, and set up courses and setting up pre-trips, and that's another thing that TDC has helped me with. Is from the first time I went to the TDC, I realized how complacent. I did a pretty good pre-trip. I looked at
Right.
all mechanical stuff and all that. I thought I did pretty good, but I realized I could do a lot better. There's things that I didn't think about. And that's the thing about TDC. It not only helps, it helps you when you come to your pre-trip. Because I've always told the drivers that, whenever we pull out that gate, that little monkey sits on your shoulder right there, and you're responsible for that monkey all day long.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if it ain't right, you but it's something that helped me out through the years. And it's something that, I try to encourage everybody to do a proper pre-trip before you leave. If anything's wrong, get it fixed. Better be fixed on the yard than it is out there on the road, just like Steve said. It's going to happen. You're going to have blowouts or something, or somebody's going to have a blowout.
Yep.
I just encourage everyone that don't hang out beside the truck. There's trucks out here now that want to run side by side for miles, but if you get out there, back off and let them go. If you're in the left lane, they won't let you go. Just back off and let them go.
Exactly.
It's you, and you want to make it home to your family every night. That's my goal.
Right.
I always want to come home to my family safe every day or night. No matter what. But the 4 Cs is a big thing. The boot camp. It's rough when it's hot, because you're out there all day Saturday and Sunday in that heat, and it gets brutal sometimes. Which, I'm from Florida, but it's still hot.
Still hot.
Yeah.
That heat's magnified out there on that white concrete.
It is, and I've been watching the weather. It looks like it's going to be like in the 80s and 60s up there. Is what I'm looking forward to going this year.
Yeah. It's gonna be nice weather for you.
It was 100, a little over 100 degrees today when I got home and had to get the yard mowed, and it was hot. But no, the competition I've enjoyed. It's nationals.
Yeah.
I've come in second place. I've had a third place. There's a 3-axle and a sleeper. I've had the condition award. They call it vehicle condition award up there at National for the pre-trip.
Right.
Yeah, it's been a good career. I mean, trucking is good. It's different now than what it was when I first started.
Yeah.
I mean, like Stump, I know you stood. Everybody's probably listening. A lot of them know Stump. And I first met him. He said, "How long I was driving?" He said, "Man, you was driving. I was in diapers." He says, "I said I was in diapers." he goes. He said, "You're going out in diapers." I said, "No, I'll be going out in Depends."
Exactly. How many trips to nationals have you made? How many state competitions have you won that?
This is my 13th, I think.
13th.
I've had 3 when I was at Watkins, 2 at FedEx National. This is my 8th one with freight.
Congratulations.
Well, I actually just had Stump's picture up there, him and John Lex's picture up there. Yeah, but I tell you what, that's a good place for us to transition into some of these pictures I got loaded here. So we're going to talk about these just for a minute. We won't spend a lot of time on them, but tell us about this beautiful lady right here.
Oh, that's the woman that took my heart. I guess you can say she took my belly back early years because that woman can cook. They say wait till a man's heart's through his belly.
Yeah.
We got married in '78. She's put up with me now for almost 45 years.
How important is Kim to you and what you do with the TDC?
Very important, a lot. She is a big backer of it for me. Like I said, studying. You know how we've studied.
Yeah.
She would go up and help me practice, and all in the early years. Her and Brian. I'd be in that air conditioned truck. They're out there in the hot sun.
Right.
I think I was going to say, but it'll come to me in a minute. Yeah, she very. I mean, I'd be lost without her, tool man. I mean,
right.
She is one of my biggest supporters.
Yeah.
When I'm out there competing, she's going to be in that stand.
Right.
Like when we were out there this year, looked over there, she was one of the first ones in the stands when they did national champions. Because she's going to watch, she's going to catch her scores and all that. Then I'll tell you a story about that one year when was at nationals. I got confused on what day they was. We have different color shirts, and I went back and I didn't see Kim out there. I said, "Where's?" And that's after she had, I think it was her knee surgeries, and I kind of was worried about her. And I said something, and one of the guys says, "It's purple shirt day." I said, "There was nobody out there in the orange shirts." Then I said, "Well, she was out there somewhere in that sea of purple."
Right. That's what I always, when I get to go to work TDCs and stuff with the road team, and I talk to them, I that's one of the first things I mention is the support team behind the driver, whether it's a husband, a wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, children. You don't know what you mean to that driver that's out there on that course right now. All them Saturdays and Sundays that you spend in the pouring down rain and the heat and everything else. That support team is the backbone of TDC, and I mean that's what you need when you come out of that truck. If you did bad on that course, you still get that hug,
Yeah.
And that's it. That support team is number one.
It is. I mean, and you got to have it. Like I said, when the year I did bad up there, and I told her, and she said, "Well, go do it." I mean, she is my big mentor, and I mean, I couldn't do without her.
Right.
I mean, everybody says that.
Right.
Everybody says, how wants to know how she puts up with me. I said, well, it's like, I said, well, I said, we got along great in the early years. That, I ran nights, she worked days. I said, the bed didn't get made for 15 years. She got out and I got in.
Right.
I said, so, I said, we just pass each other and said, have fun at work.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Eddie, how many years of safe driving miles do you have combined?
Over 4 million.
Over 4 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, I
Yeah,
tell
let's
you
see. Well, I
what.
started driving in '76 is when I started actually driving,
Yeah,
and now it's 40, 46 years,
I got you.
47,
Yeah,
something like
yeah. It's getting so long you can't remember, right?
that. Yeah, yeah, that happens with age.
Hey, let's get into some of these other pictures I got loaded up here. So I loaded this one on purpose because I wanted you to see this is what you're going to be doing here shortly. You're going to have the camper somewhere. You're going to be camping in your retirement life. So
Yeah, but I probably won't be sitting looking at that phone with all that factory driver stuff.
now tell us about these youngins here.
Oh shoot, that's my pride and joy right there. That's Lila I'm holding, and that's Ari, my grandson.
Yeah,
They're 9 and 5 now. We just took them camping just this past weekend. We was out, had them for
yeah,
4 days.
yeah. They ain't
Uh,
nothing like that. All
they
right.
ain't.
And this is you and Ari right here, and you actively
Coaching.
coach him, right?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
That's another thing I did for years, and back at Watkins, which I ran nights, and it gave me a lot of opportunity. I coached Chad's baseball team from T-ball all the way till he went into high school baseball.
Yeah, I
And
got you.
then Brian, he didn't play a lot of baseball, but then when in school, at the high school, uh, when they got golf back, I told the athletic director because I knew Bo and all that because Chad and all the sports that I'd help him with the golf team, and so he taught me into getting my credentials and taking some classes. So I did, and then he gave me the team.
Yeah,
But I mean, my golf game was real good back then too.
yeah, I hear you're a pretty doggone good golfer for sure. So,
Not as good
um,
as it once was, like the old song says.
well, look, you're gonna have plenty of time after you retire to up your golfing game. How about that?
Oh yeah, I am.
So this is Team FedEx for Florida here, and you're holding the championship trophy there, and I recognize a lot of people in that picture there. But just go ahead and speak to this picture and tell us about that feeling that night.
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe it. Well, you're sitting there and you kind of thinking, okay, I just wanted to hear one name that night. That's all I want to hear. Give me just call this one name before you call mine. When they called his, I knew I had my first place. So then I was sitting there talking with my wife, and I said, if I just had hit that one other obstacle, I said, I probably would have been grand champion. And it just, I probably, I might have made it. And didn't think about it. Then, they went on, and when they sat there and called out the grand champion, I just sat there and they called my name. And she said, "That's you."
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I wasn't expecting it. It was a shocker. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful. I mean, it's hard earned. It's not an easy task. That was the second time I got it, but they had a different trophy then than the Big Eagle. But like I said, my room here that's got all my trophies in it. I've got all the trucks from all the nationals I've been in. Every year, yeah.
Just give us a 360 real quick, like with your phone. Just kind of scan around that room. You don't have to get up and walk around. Just show us a little bit, because that is a trophy room for sure.
There's stuff. Well, that's one of them. I got to get up because it's over here on
Okay.
this wall too. And there's one grand champion there, and some of my early trophies here, and
It just keeps
then
going.
and here's all my trucks around the room from all the nationals and all. I'll
That's
show you
awesome.
I'll show you the first truck. Here you go. Everybody talks about how old I am. Let me show you my old first truck. See if I can find it. There it is.
There you go. That's you.
There
That's
you
you,
go.
Eddie.
And so, yeah, it's all my room, and there's more of that's my.
And show us this year's trophy.
Okay,
I know you got it displayed right here.
Yeah, this is well, if I got to look at the camera.
That's nice.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that is awesome, Eddie. I mean, that's just a testament to your hard work and your dedication over the years, and the absolutely support that you have from your family and the various companies that you work for that gave you the opportunity to compete in the TDC. So I congratulate you on that, and that is just awesome. And I want to thank you because you've been a friend of me over the years. I've actually had the opportunity to go down and practice with you, and the time that you and I put into studying, whether it be on the phone or updating some tests and test questions and all that. So I want to thank you for pouring your knowledge into me.
Hey, it's what it's about. It's helping each other, paying it forward.
Exactly.
Right.
It's any way I can help somebody. That's even at 4C. That's the thing I do, and I want to see people do good. That's my thing. I want to see other people have success at it or do good.
Right.
So I'll help them out any way I can. The picture with John Lex. I remember the first time I met John Lex.
Yeah, I'm glad you're getting into that. Tell us a little bit about you and Johnny Lex, because you are and many people might not know this, Eddie, and I'm glad you brought it up. How integral you are with him becoming a road team captain. Tell us that story there.
I can't remember what year it was. It was in Tampa, doing the nose on blitz, and first year I met him, he had the truck for the Walmart, and I rode him, Jay, the safety guy, and we went to the school first. So I was on the Florida road team at the time. And I got in there, we had to do 10. I was introduced to everybody, and I said, well, if y'all want to talk. As soon as I introduced John and Jay, they said, we'll see you at the truck. They took off. They wouldn't even stand in front of that class and talk. But went out to the truck, and he's sitting in the passenger seat of the truck, and he was in his zone, his comfort zone at that point. And he talked to the kids. I put him in the truck. He did all the talking there with that. And then next thing you know, he's on the Florida road team. The next night, he's America's road team. And I used to joke with him. I said, the first time you ever did something, you ran out the room and here you are. They can't get you to stop. John was a good old guy. I love John.
Yeah.
And
And tell us a little bit about your relationship with Greg Sams.
That was my brother from another mother. First time I met Stunt, when he come down, it was going to TDC or going to be something. Tommy said who it was, and he said, Greg Sams. I said, I don't know no Greg Sams. He said, Greg Sams from Atlanta. I said, don't know Greg Sams. Then he said, Stunt. I said, oh, that's his real name? I didn't know his real name was Greg. It was Stunt. We all called him Stunt.
Right.
And we studied a lot together. Like I said, he come up with some stuff on that study guide stuff that we did when he was, FedEx up there in about Austin. He started a lot of that stuff too. We practiced together a lot. We played golf together and very competitive with each other. We'd try to distract each other on the course sometime. I remember one time he got in a truck with Eddie Weeks, and Eddie was complaining about it being hot. Stump turns the heater on in the truck and gets it real hot before Eddie got in it. But he'd tell you, you got to learn distractions. But we were practicing one time in Ocala. I can tell you something. The little fella could run. I can tell you that. Yeah. But I was in the truck doing turn. I was having trouble with the right turn. It was one of my nemesis. So he said, you're gonna get that right turn down before we stop. And they're long time. And I wore blisters on my hand. I'd said something, and he, Stump. I ain't gonna go into it, but so I take off and go around, get away from him. And next time I turned, look, he was right there behind that truck. That little fella could run. But we were good friends. Like I said, he was like a brother to me, and he was my younger brother, and I had to put up with him. But in his stuff.
Yeah. And he is definitely missed in this industry because he was a big part of it,
He is.
and
Yes,
and,
sir.
and
Yes, sir.
he did not meet a stranger. I mean, I'm telling you,
No,
if
he
you didn't know
didn't.
it, yeah, he didn't meet a stranger for sure.
That's
Um,
true.
we are Eddie. I hate to say it, but we've had fun. We are starting to wind down the show, and it's the post trip part of the show. And Steve, man, I can't believe you're so quiet tonight, Steve.
I'm just listening to man talk. I'm telling you, I'm listening to man talk. I will say this, Eddie. I got the pleasure the first time meeting you in 2014 over at Four Seas, and you friended me that day. And if I had any questions at all, you didn't hesitate. You know, and a couple people see me talking to you, and they said, "There's a good one right there. You can learn a lot from that man." And I just want to say thank you. Thanks for everything you've done for the industry over the years. And it's not see you later.
That's
It's
right.
it's see you after a while, brother. Because your name is etched in stone, man. You know. And I'm gonna be over Saturday morning there in Columbus, so I'm gonna be listening. I'm gonna be listening because I know your name's gonna be in that top five. And
That's
oh
all I
yeah,
want to hear.
that's it, baby. That's it. Get that
Yeah, I'm not.
opportunity.
I might be retiring, but I'm not going away. That's like I told them
Exactly.
down there. I said I'll be popping back up. I'll be going to that TDC.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
Uh,
That's awesome,
and
man.
I and a safety drive for cure.
yeah, no doubt.
Yes.
Real quick about that. I mean, Stump got me into going up there. He's the one who talked about it. So that's
Right.
when we started going up there to that. Uh, to me, that's another thing that gets you started for the year, and for the
Right.
Yep.
TDC. And the first, I went up there the first time. I went and did the sleeper class because I was going to do the sleeper class in state, and they had that biggest, longest Peterbilt hook. I think that thing was 80 feet long with that trailer.
With the black
I
or
mean,
burgundy? With the
it was
black or
black,
burgundy?
the black,
I
the
remember
black.
that.
One.
Yeah, I
the
remember
black
that
one.
one.
Yeah, that thing I said, I told Charlie Dimch, I said, I don't think I better do sleeper.
Oh,
I mean that's another thing, the camaraderie up there, and that it's a family affair. That's
Yes.
like going to national, going to Four Seas, going to the state TDC, going to safety drive. To me, it's going to see my brothers and sisters in transportation. It's
right,
it's my adopted family.
Yes,
right,
sir.
right.
Yes, sir.
Well, I hate to end a good conversation. I had some people that I promised that I would have you off the air and have you tucked into bed, ready to get on your plane in the morning. So we're gonna cut it off here because you got a hard weekend and week ahead of you there. But we want to thank the listening audience tonight for listening in. And I know some of you are going to see Eddie and Andy because I see that y'all are listening in. Henry Mailer was listening in, so. Anyway, so a lot of people's going to listen in tonight. But Eddie, we always end the show with a word of encouragement, whether it be safety or some tips to some rookies that might be going to national. So we're going to let you have the platform, and then Steve will, and then I'll end the show, and we'll see you on the other side after we off the air. Okay.
All right. Well, when it comes to the rookies, it's their first year or whatever at the nationals. Stay relaxed. Don't worry how you do. Take it as a learning experience because it will be a learning experience. My first one was, and take it from there, and then come back. Just take what you learn, apply it, and then keep going after each year at state. And then what you learn, take it back to your barn or whatever, and talk to your guys. Always, number one, safety is first. Your life or nobody's life is worth doing something unsafe. Like I said, if you're out here traveling, always leave yourself a room around you. If you're trying to struggle to get somebody, buy somebody you can't, just back off, get behind them. It's only a minute or so you're gonna lose in a day, and
Right.
you're gonna
Exactly.
save a lot of time that way. But like I said, study. Like the best encouragement I got was from words I got was study and practice. That's the best thing we can do as rookies or as competitors. We have to study and practice. And don't, to the rookies, don't let, when somebody says, oh, this guy's been here 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 2 years, don't let that discourage you, because you got just as good a chance of beating them. Just go out there. It's like playing a game of golf. You got to play that course. You play the course, you beat the course, you're going to beat the other competitors.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
All right, Steve, what you got for us this week, brother?
I just want everybody to remember safety starts when the feet hit the ground first thing in the morning. You got to be safe all day, because the most important trip is that trip home.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Panel, if y'all just hang tight, I'll see you on the other side after we go off the air there, and we'll talk just for a few minutes. But I want to remind everybody that next week we'll be right back here on Truckers Voices with another guest. We thank you for viewing, coming in tonight and listening and viewing. You can remember that you can go back and look at these. They're archived on YouTube. And also, if you want to listen to them going down the road, we're on Spotify and we're on Apple Podcasts. So we got the platforms covered. But there's one thing I want to say to you. Remember to use the tools that are given to you to make your day safe each day. And whether it be, the proper pre-trip or, even with distracted driving, use those headsets for that one-touch function to call people, and keep your eyes on the road. And there's one other thing you got to do is you got to look out for those who aren't looking out for themselves. We'll see you right here next week on Truckers Voices. See y'all.
See you.